The old garage stood at the end of a quiet street, covered in rust, peeling paint, and years of neglect. Most people walked past without giving it a second glance. To everyone in town, it was nothing more than a useless building waiting to be torn down. But sometimes the greatest treasures hide beneath layers of dust, and sometimes the people the world overlooks are the ones destined to change it forever. Welcome to Heartwarming Tales. If stories about kindness, determination, and second chances inspire you, thank you for being here. We hope this story reminds you that hope can be found in the most unexpected places. Every morning before sunrise, Rowan Mercer rode his old bicycle through the city delivering repair tools to local mechanics. At 34 years old, life had never been easy for him. His father had passed away years earlier, his mother struggled with illness, and every paycheck disappeared almost as quickly as he earned it. Even so, Rowan refused to complain. He believed honest work always mattered, even when nobody seemed to notice. Across town, business leader Victoria Hale had built one of the largest automotive companies in the region. She was respected for her intelligence and admired for her success, but she rarely looked beyond numbers and profit. Among her company's forgotten properties was an abandoned garage that had sat empty for nearly 20 years. Engineers called it unsafe. Investors wanted it demolished. Victoria simply wanted it gone. When Rowan heard about the sale, everyone laughed at him for showing interest. Friends warned him that spending his last $1,000 on an abandoned garage would ruin his future. They saw broken walls and a leaking roof. Rowan saw something completely different. He noticed the sturdy foundation hidden beneath the cracked concrete, the large work area, and the location near busy roads. More importantly, he saw possibility where everyone else saw failure. The sale was completed on a bright spring morning. Victoria barely remembered signing the paperwork. To her, it was just another forgotten transaction among hundreds. Rowan, however, held the old keys in his trembling hands as though they unlocked a new life. The first weeks tested every ounce of his determination. Rain poured through the damaged roof. The electricity barely worked. Rats had made homes inside broken cabinets. Rowan spent long days cleaning debris before beginning his regular job each afternoon. At night he returned with borrowed tools, repairing walls one brick at a time under portable work lights. His hands blistered. His clothes stayed covered in dust. Still, every sunrise found him working again. Neighbors slowly began noticing his relentless effort. An elderly carpenter volunteered spare lumber. A retired electrician repaired the wiring without asking for payment. A local cafe owner delivered coffee every morning. Small acts of kindness became the foundation of something much larger than a building. The garage slowly transformed into a welcoming workshop filled with hope instead of decay. One afternoon Rowan discovered something unexpected while removing an old storage shelf. Hidden behind the wall were vintage automotive blueprints and several rare machine parts left behind decades earlier. Most people would have sold them immediately, but Rowan studied the designs carefully. They inspired him to create custom restoration parts that collectors desperately needed but could no longer find. Using every bit of knowledge he had gained over the years, Rowan began producing handcrafted components with remarkable precision. Word spread surprisingly fast. Mechanics from neighboring cities started placing orders. Vintage car enthusiasts recommended his workshop online. Within weeks, customers were arriving from hundreds of miles away. The abandoned garage no longer looked forgotten. Bright windows reflected the afternoon sun. Fresh flowers lined the entrance. Young apprentices learned valuable skills inside while experienced craftsmen shared knowledge that might otherwise have disappeared forever. Rowan believed success meant lifting others alongside himself, and people respected him even more because of it. Exactly 6 months after purchasing the garage, local newspapers published an extraordinary headline. The tiny workshop had become the fastest-growing custom restoration company in the region. Investors lined up outside hoping to partner with Rowan. International collectors offered contracts worth millions. The building once called worthless had become the heart of a thriving business employing dozens of families. When Victoria Hale read the article, disbelief washed over her. Curious, she visited the property herself. The sight before her hardly seemed real. The same garage she had dismissed as junk buzzed with energy, innovation, and smiling employees. Customers filled the parking lot. Delivery trucks carried products across the country. Everywhere she looked, she saw proof that value had never been hidden inside the building alone. It had always existed inside the person willing to believe in it. Victoria quietly walked through the workshop, noticing photographs of employees with their families, community projects funded by the business, and scholarships Rowan had established for young mechanics. The company had become more than a financial success. It had become a place where people found dignity, opportunity, and hope. Standing outside beneath the warm afternoon sky, Victoria realized she had spent years measuring success with balance sheets while Rowan measured it by the lives he changed. That lesson stayed with her forever. Inspired by his example, she launched programs supporting struggling entrepreneurs and donated unused company properties to small business owners willing to dream as boldly as Rowan once had. Years later, people no longer referred to the old building as the junk garage. They simply called it the birthplace of an empire built with determination, humility, and kindness. Visitors came not because of its size, but because of the story it represented. Children listened with wide eyes as guides explained how one ordinary man refused to let the world's opinion define his future. If this story touched your heart, thank you for spending these moments with us. Stories like Rowan's remind us that greatness often begins in places others ignore. Before we finish, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of Rowan's journey inspired you the most? As the sun slowly settled beyond the city skyline, its golden light reflected across the garage windows that once seemed destined to remain dark forever. Rowan looked around at the thriving workshop filled with laughter, purpose, and grateful faces. He understood that true wealth was never measured by money alone. It was measured by the hope we create, the kindness we share, and the courage to believe in possibilities long before anyone else can see them. And sometimes, all it takes to build an empire is one forgotten garage, one impossible dream, and one person brave enough to refuse giving up.